before this thing started, actually, around 600 trucks of food items, medications, fuel, and all other commodities used to cross into Gaza on a daily basis. So when we talk about the 20 trucks now entering Gaza, so it's like a drop in an ocean.
The first trucks carrying much-needed humanitarian aid arrived in Gaza this morning after Egypt finally opened the Rafah border crossing. Follows weeks of intense negotiation between the US, Israel, Egypt and the UN. But already, aid officials are warning the assistance won't be enough. We can speak now to Fikr Shalltoot, Director of Programmes in Gaza for Medical Aid for Palestinians. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First of all, what is your reaction to the fact that finally, because this is delayed, the Rafah border crossing has opened?
Well, honestly, they just opened shortly to allow the 20 trucks that were announced earlier. I was hoping actually to allow the flow of the aids to come into Gaza. As you know, or perhaps you gathered from the news actually, that more than 1 million people are currently displaced in Gaza. They were forced to leave their homes from different areas on Gaza Strip, and they left with nothing. So all these people actually are in need for food, for water. With the complete closure of Gaza since 2 weeks, actually, Israel is not allowing any food items, any water, or any fuel into Gaza. So, I mean, how we would expect, that the quantities within the 20 trucks will be enough for such population who become all of a sudden displaced. Just to let you know, or to give you a sense of how this amount is quite limited. Actually, before this thing started, actually, around 600 trucks of food items, medications, fuel, and all other commodities used to cross into Gaza on a daily basis. So when we talk about the 20 trucks now entering Gaza, so it's like a drop in an ocean, with full closure since 2 weeks, and with like 1 million people already displaced, and without the fuel in. And honestly, without the fuel, to be honest, I don't know the value of some of this aid, because there is an issue about delivering this to the community and, bringing these items to the final destination where our people are actually needing these items urgently.
And just give us a sense, if you can, Fikr, of the latest situation on the ground. You're in Cairo at the moment, but you talk about this limited supply of aid that's now crossing the Rafah border. And this will be water, this will be food, this will be medicine. Presumably there are people on the ground who haven't had clean water for a fortnight now.
Yeah, that's true, actually, including my family there. As you know, I am originally from Gaza and I stuck here in Cairo. I cannot go back, but I hear this from my family, from my colleagues, actually, who are also displaced and staying in one of the shelters. They've been always, for the last 2 weeks, struggling to find clean water to drink, and also, to have like a shower, or to flush when they go to the bathroom, to use the toilets. I mean, it's quite miserable from what I hear from them. It's like the life become like 20 or 30 years back, when people still have to find, outside, sources of water, to get a proper shower, or to drink. They are struggling even for drinking water. And this is again, applicable for the hospitals that only have a bed capacity of 2,500 beds, and now we have more than 13,000 injuries, including women and children. The hospitals been struggling, actually, again, not because only of the lack of medications or medical supplies or essential, teams of staff who are supposed to be supporting this huge number of injuries, but also the lack of electricity and the fuel to run these hospitals and to ensure that all the complex, sophisticated equipment at the ICU units and the neonatal units are still operating. Actually, all the population in Gaza, 2.2 million, are are suffering, the ones who are in hospitals, the ones who are displaced, and even the ones who still staying inside their homes because basically they don't have access to their basic needs of food, of water, of electricity, and any other supplies.
So this aid is clearly desperately needed. Is there any indication that Egypt will allow more aid to cross the border? I know a number of world leaders have been in the Middle East this week, and Rishi Sunak has been urging President El-Sisi of Egypt to allow more aid to cross that border. Is there any indication at this stage that they will allow more to cross?
Actually, I've been attending the logistic cluster this afternoon, and there is no indication on when the crossing will be allowed to be open again. And this is actually, it's not about the Egyptian; it's about negotiating this with U.S. and Israel. I believe that Rafah crossing, and this is what President Sisi have declared today at the summit in Cairo, that Rafah crossing is operating and it's not closed from the Egyptian side. It was closed because Israel didn't want to allow the aids to come into Gaza, and now still they have to continue the negotiation of the flow of the aids into Gaza.
You mentioned the Cairo Peace Summit taking place today. How important will that be? Because a number of people have pointed out that arguably the three most important parties in all of this, Israel, Iran, and the US, are not there.
I don't know exactly, actually, because I'm not a politician. But to be honest, it's really important that all the people, I mean, at least the presidents from Arab countries, and I believe there are presidents from Europe as well. It's really important for these people to get together and to discuss and to share together how they're going to intervene to, at least intervene to alleviate the suffering of the people. I know that I've been watching part of this summit, and most of them talking about safe passage for the aid and the importance of allowing more aids to come into Gaza. Some of them, they also indicated that it's really important to discuss ceasefire again. I mean, because people in Gaza, the 2.2 millions, are the one who are being suffering most and losing their lives, and many, unfortunately, of the children and women still under rubbles, and they are not able to access, treatment in the overwhelmed hospitals in Gaza.
And just finally, Fikr, once the aid arrives on the ground in Gaza, how does it get distributed, and how do we make sure that it doesn't end up in the hands of Hamas?
Actually, the food the items that was delivered, it was declared through the cluster, and it's now received by the UN through the UNRWA, and it's now will be at the warehouses of UNRWA in the middle area. Within 48 hours, it will be delivered to the UN organizations who brought these items to the World Food Program, WHO, and UNICEF. And each of these organizations will be delivering items to the needed hospitals or needed communities. So I believe there is a clarity on this is how it's going to work, and it's the responsibility of each UN or international organizations that receiving these aids inside Gaza to ensure the delivery of the items to the people in need for it.